Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Spirit Journey. Today is Tuesday, August 18, 2020, and the time, as you can see, is 9:40 p.m. This beautiful, beautiful evening. I had a very interesting day today. Yeah, I had to do some errands. I went all the way over on the east side. I live on the west side. Then I came back and I brought my little four-legged friends, as you see here. That's Lilac, Lily Girl, and Labby Boy. Yes, we're just relaxing right now. I had a good day. And when I got back home and fed my little furry friends, well, I was watching a program on Congo, the Republic of Congo, also known as Zaire. I used to have a friend. She was from the Congo. It was a Belgian um, colony, and it had a Belgian king, King Leopold, a very sinister, evil, evil guy. It's amazing how it seems like some people just invent evil because they have nothing better to do. Yeah, I want to get my thoughts out. It's going to be long, so get your popcorn. It's just really I'm just gonna free float this. Just gonna go with the flow with this, just to share my thoughts, and I want to link it on to about where I live. I live in the United States, in New York City. Just kind of just bring it all in. How something like a country like the Congo or Zaire, how it affects, I mean, the message behind that country for today. So that's what I want to try to pull in together. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I learned about Zaire, Congo. I think it was first called, the Congo, oh, it was a colony of the king of Belgium. And when it got its independence, I think in 1960, they called it Zaire. Well, this friend that I had from the Congo, she was of a ruling class, a ruling clan or group. I don't know the name of the group. And I remember the first time we went out, she showed me a picture. You know, wow, it was exquisite. I remember there was I think a lake or something, and a beautiful European style home. I said, wow, it was just very attractive. And the person told me about, like, there's the Congo has a lot of vegetation. It's by the equator, so it's really hot, very tropical, and they have a forest there that's so dense of foliage and fauna that if you go in, it's pitch black. It is so dense of foliage, plant life, that the sun can't get through, and so it's like nighttime in there, and you can get lost big time there. And I thought it was so exciting. And the Congo's in the center of Africa. And you know what else? The size of the Congo, Zaire, is the size, they either said the size of Western Europe or all of Europe. So it's a big place. You have all these countries in Europe, and how just individual countries in Europe could overthrow, like the Belgians had taken over the Belgian Congo. And I thought, wow, they have the potential and the rest of Africa to overthrow Europe. Well, wishful thinking there. But let me go on. Now, I thought of something fascinating with the idea of being in the center of Africa. And my thoughts like, um, it's the cradle of humanity, I'm thinking. And how majestic it must be to be in the heart of Africa. I mean, wow, it really excites me. And I remember this person that I knew from 5 years ago. I remember she was telling me that, see, her family, the mother took this friend of mine. I mean, she was born and raised there in Congo slash Zaire. But the family moved them to France. Not even Belgium, but they moved to France. And she was educated there. She goes to college, and she even came back to her home country and had a successful business there. Oh, what's the point? Oh, so either she told me or I saw another documentary on the Congo, and that the leader there um, required that the people not wear European slash Western clothing. Yes, hello, viewer. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Yes, I'm just really starting this conversation. Just gonna go with the flow. Yes. Yeah, gonna talk about my thoughts about Zaire slash Congo. So this person that I knew was telling me that they weren't supposed to wear Western clothing. But she, or I should say the person's mother was very rebellious. Yes, how you doing, Cap? Yes, your message was retracted there. Either way, yes, a good evening. Yes, you can just give a hello message down below. Yeah, I'm going to just talk about my thoughts about the Congo and Zaire, and a person that I knew from that place. See, my friend said that her mother, well, they they were required to wear, after they got independence from Belgium, that they were not to wear. Yes, hello there, Pohatan. Yes, hello. It's good to see you out there. Yes, welcome, welcome. So my friend was not allowed to. I mean, the mother. They weren't supposed to wear Western clothing. And the leader, I think it was Lumumba. It could have been that name. But I did, that's why I checked out on the internet who it was. And it must be Lumumba. They mentioned that he himself said, you know, that you don't want to wear Western clothing because it's like like a remnant of colonialism. So you're to be free. And I mean, I was amazed. I said, really? I mean, I forget exactly what she said, but in essence, that's what she did say. And I like that. I like that here you're under somebody's thumb. And King Leopold was a very evil um, ruler over the oppressor, not ruler, oppressor of the people of Congo. Very racist society under the Belgians, and it's a very mineral rich country, the size of what was that, Western Europe or all of Europe, and the the, the people there, I mean, they're there to make money. The colony was to make money for the king of Belgium. And if the people of the Congo slash Zaire did not make the quota, the king will authorize that they cut off the hands of the people. And I think also the feet. And they showed pictures of this. This was gruesome. It was in 1960 that the people were not Africans. We are not African. Okay. Sorry, I'm not sure what that means. I say we're American. Okay, I'm not. Yeah, I'm talking about the Congo. Yeah. Yes, I am an American also, but I'm actually talking about the the Congo slash Zaire. But these Africans, they were the Congolese. They were to make a quota, and if they didn't make that quota, the white king of Belgium, who colonized the Congo, had their hands and arms cut off. And then, as I was saying, in 1960, they got the independence. And so Lumumba, the ruler there, had wanted, to really stand proud of their liberation and then don't have any remnants of colonialism upon the people. And I thought it was fantastic. And so I remember, I was talking to my friend who's from there, and I wanted to visit there. I said, wow, you had a leader that said something like that? So I was amazed. So I was thinking about the story today. And so that's why I went on the internet, on YouTube, and say, let me look at some stuff on the Congo. And so that's why I looked at it. And it was like a history of that place. And they talked about like the leader, Lumumba, and he put in position. So when when the colonies left, the country was to formulate their own government. And so you had a leader, and then you had someone who was appointed, head of the military, and that guy turned out to be a real snake. Hey, Cam, good to see you. Yeah, always good to see you too. Yes, I'm just really getting started here. Yeah, it's gonna be a long one probably. This uh, this live stream. Yeah, I haven't done a live stream in a while, and the reason why I'm doing the live stream here, um, I'm on my smartphone, and it may not be enough room to do a video. So I said, okay, let me just do a live stream. and get the content out. So yes, yeah, I'm talking about the this documentary I saw in the Congo slash Zaire, and you had this the post leader of the country after colonialism in 1960, and I think Lumumba was the leader. They had like a president and then a prime minister, so it was a little confusing at the same time. And then they hired, I mean, not hired, they got to rule the, and I'm awful with names, so please forgive me if I mispronounce or forget the names. But either way, they got this guy named Mobutu to be like head of the military, the army. And on the surface, I was saying to myself, wow, that here you have an African nation, the Congo slash Zaire, and you're real hopeful. But look what happens. Look what I learned about this program. See, the leader, this new leader, um, was anti-Western. But this Mobutu fellow, who was given the position by Lumumba, kind of like backstabbed him, and he was pro-Western. So what happens? I'm not going to say the name, but one of the alphabet agencies in the U.S. had authorized the removal and the if he won't leave, they said to physically remove him. I said, oh my goodness. And yes, that's what happened to him. This ruler, president, by the government here, had him murdered. Yes, I kid you not. They said they first put him under house arrest. The guy that he put in the position, him, the person who he authorized to be head of the military, he arrested him and then sent him to some place. I wasn't familiar with the place they mentioned. Um, but the people that resided there kill him, and they buried his body somewhere. And so now this new, as you probably predict, the leader of the military becomes the leader, and this person seemed to be in power for a very long time, and he was just absorbing, and absorbing so much more power. He was getting intoxicated. This Mobutu. I didn't finish watching. Didn't finish watch the film. It was I think over 2 hours. I saw at least half of it. And what else about it? I thought it was interesting. Like, yeah, he was friends. Get this. This Mobutu was friend. Now he had Okay, I think it was him, and or it could also have been Lumumba, the guy that assassinated. Um, they had education. It was interesting. Missionary schools, yeah, a missionary school had taught them. So I heard something like that, and I think the friend from the Congo that I met 5 years ago, I think she also, or her father, also had gotten educated under these missionary schools. So again, keep in mind these key words: missionaries. Missionaries are like the thugs, the policemen of the church. They go around and they use mental warfare to program your thinking. It has nothing to do with um, Jesus, salvation. This is a ruse. So this missionaries are supposed to represent God. Wouldn't they want these people to be liberated from colonialism? Not at all. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So they're educated by these people. Think of that as a mental program. And so you have people who are anti-colonialism, and then you have another faction who are um, loyal to their oppressors. And so that's why the government of this country wanted the removal of the first president because he didn't like the Western world. And I don't blame him. So they put this guy in power for a long time. And it's like the longer he lived, the more corrupt he got. He just started just killing a lot of people. And they had public hangings. Yep. It was in a big, big, big stadium. They love their stadiums over in overseas, man. They love their soccer and things like that. Yeah. It was a public hanging of these two people who he claimed wanted to uh, overthrow the government. And I'm wondering why all this killing of all these people. And here they were under colonialism. And so you start wondering, was colonialism better for them? Or this new government with indigenous people? You start to wonder. I wonder how people can get so much like that. And then a thought came to my mind as I was watching this. I said, in the U.S., it's the same type of thing. I'm thinking about, um, remember, like in the 1990s, the hip hop cultural scene was really booming into so-called mainstream society. You had Tupac, you had the others, this one other fellow. And you know what was going on? It seemed to be a turf war amongst the different rappers. Remember? Biggie got killed, and Tupac got killed. And even today, there are people in that music genre who are being killed, even now. So it seems like when you have a system that is oppressing people slash black people in particular, that when there's a shift going on socially, then it's a becomes a turf issue. So you're no longer fighting your initial oppressor when you're looking for liberation, and then there's backbiting within the group. So the US and the subculture, hip hop culture, is the same thing. So here they have an outlet to, in the US to perform their music, self expression, but they're killing themselves. They're murdering. And I don't understand it. So and they kill so violently. I mean, what death isn't violent, but it's like to just to watch it, and they did show it on the screen, and it just seems senseless. In fact, one of the fightings that they had was right after Mobutu got in. I think they said 6 days after he came into power. There was some melee in some plane, and they just start. They show footage, and they were just attacking each other. You had the military, and then the civilian, and then they start fighting. It is believed that the melee there was um, part of the Western government's interference to screw them over. Yeah, you have different countries who have their interests in these foreign countries, and they see to it that who they want to rule is to rule, and they for whatever reason they get a tyrant to rule over Africa in general. That's what it looks like. Everybody's just hurting each other, and this bloodthirst for money. So it has one of the richest resources of mineral rich resources, and they have the fauna, also the plant life that they could capitalize on, but you don't hear of it. And I think it's so sad. I looked at I just looked at the place, and I mean the physical beauty of the land. It's very rich, but they're not the 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 country is being under the thumb of European nations. And so you have a foreign system that was introduced to the indigenous people, and it doesn't fit us. That even though we try to become westernized people, we could dress like them, we could learn their language, you could go to their churches, practice the religion how they practice it. But somehow, when it comes to enterprise and social development, we never come out ahead. And it's just reminding me that, see, you can have a system, but is the system, was it created for you? And the answer is no. It was never made for you. Even though you might go to the school system, even though you might dress like them, talk like them, etc., but you're not them, and you're not going to be a part of their inner circle of it's like a central place. I mean, I'm not an economist or anything like that. I'm just sharing my thoughts and just trying to make sense out of all this. But you have people, and we're trying to emulate the rulers. They have a lot of power over you. They have military power over you. Um, they, they 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 just they were your oppressors, and so you want to emulate, but somehow you're not able to emulate their economic success, and that is a problem that um, that country and the rest of the indigenous population of this planet have. We work hard. Many of us are willing to work so hard, very hard. But it's like we're flapping our wings, but our wings are clipped. So we can only go so far. They're not taken seriously. And as we learned in this documentary, that this alphabet agency here authorized the killing of a head of state just to get its way. So you're really not free. So even though colonialism ended, they were still not free because you had another nation watching them and making sure that a particular person of interest will come into power. And this other person that they backed, this Mobutu, he was a like a dictator, and he had held lavish parties for mostly European. And what else? Just everything about him. How he became that way, and I would imagine, see, you become ugly like the people who oppressed you. How do you learn about, just look at some families. You have children who are born in horrific families, and I was watching a film on that just last night. I forget their names, but they lived in California. They had uh, 18 children, a uh, a Caucasian family, and the husband started out rich. Something happened. He had lost his job, but somehow they were able to get moved twice into really, considered nice homes, nice middle class homes. So I don't know how they supported themselves. And 18 children is 18 children. The mother had homeschooled at least the first eight of them, which is a big job. And it turned out, I know I'm going a little bit off the direction, but it's just to get a point. Now, this family in California, the mother had been sexually violated by her own father. And she married young. She married when she was, I think, 16, and the guy was 27. And he had good money, so she, married him. But something went wrong, and they become really evil and started torturing their children. And the eldest daughter, I think she was 17 at the time, and she planned her escape. It took her 2 years to plan the escape. She does escape and call the police, and the rest is history. The Turbin family, that's the name, Turbin, Turbin family. Yeah. So if you want to research them, you could just type in that name and you'll learn about the family. They got rescued. The 18 kids got rescued. I'm sorry, I said 18. I meant to say 13. Yeah, I said 18. I think 13 kids. So yeah, six of the children got adopted out, and the others, like, they're living in some type of housing for them. So, the point. So the mother had a very bad childhood. So even when she became older, she too became just as violent against her children. So I'm seeing this with Africa. Anybody really, when you're abused, you oftentimes become the abuser, and that's what sounds like what's happening in that country. Not just that country. I mean, the U.S. is no different. But I'm just talking about the movie the documentary I saw today, and it's just my thoughts. Um, I thought it was very sad how you have a people with extreme wealth in your land, but you don't benefit from it. And everything that's done there is really on the behalf of its colonial powers. And I'm angry for the country because it's like, hey, when are you gonna stand, put your foot down and say enough is enough? You have the right, Congo, Zaire, from the riches of the land that you produce. And when you don't enjoy its fruits, there's a problem, and you have to stop it. You have to expose it. So that was my main concern. That such a wealthy place and the indigenous population, also very reminiscent to the North American Indian of this country. They have their land. They're put onto what they call reservations. Some people might call it a concentration camp, or and they're dying. They have radioactive stuff there. So some of them are dying for that. There's no water, no commerce. They're being exploited. I feel badly for them. And so, like, same. So, these African nations, this country, um, so the colonial powers don't have to physically be there, but they control what goes on in that country, in that domain. And the people are, like here, we become dependent on the foreign system. This system that we see is not an organic system. This is a foreign system of control over the masses. They'll use religion, such as those missionaries, to brainwash your thinking. And you want to be as important as your former oppressor. It's like a love affair. It started out after the colonials left. It looked like it would be something successful. But he used his own to destroy them, to destroy the leader that was not pro-Western. And the U.S. allowed him to come into office, the other fellow. It's a waste. When you look at that land, I mean, I could see them doing agriculture to be an exporter of herbal medicines, or maybe have resorts there, health resorts there, for people to come by and get healed. It'd be magnificent in the heart of Africa to have that. But you don't see it. I see people, they're working for a check, just like here. And some of you may have seen my video that I did yesterday when I was going out with my dogs. And within 6 minutes after going out, I was, what's the word? Come upon this person, this beggar, and he was getting verbally ugly. Oh, what's the point of my mentioning him? Um, we just we're working for a check. He was begging for money, and when I said I'm sorry, but no, he got verbally ugly. And so we become dependent on things. We become dependent on money. It becomes our God, and we become slave to it. All of it, all that money, we become slave to it. Money is a tool in this system, but it's going beyond just being a tool. People in the Congo were killing each other. So you had the colonials from Belgium. They weren't killing Belgians. In fact, in one of the things in their history, post colonialism, they sent this military group over to that country from Belgium, I think, also. And they went there just to remove the white people living there. Look at that. See how Europeans, to my understanding, um, they didn't specify. I don't think they specified what nationality. They could have been Belgian citizens, but I'm not 100% sure. But either still, to have someone else come there to get those people out. So they stick together. So I think Africa has to stick together also. You'll benefit, but instead you're treating each other like you're strangers. You you thirst for power. So when you get in power, then the so-called friends you had, you don't trust them, and you wonder how you're going to outdo your neighbor. But you're not thinking how you're going to outdo your oppressors. You have to ask yourself, how do you get in that mess? It's the fear of not having. So what does this have to do now? Okay, so you have a group of people who are under the Belgian system, and then they let the reins loose, and you're just like a madman and just running around. You're not really building the type of infrastructure that you could build. You're taking the money and you're just indulging in trivial stuff rather than building a society. Just look at in the Arabian Peninsula. They weren't wealthy people at all, but somehow when they got that oil about 100 years ago, they knew somehow that well, an industry developed. They're going to now use this oil for their new cars. It's amazing. These people, just trying to get my thoughts here now. So, but what's happening now? This transition of power, it gets like a violence that happens, but your oppressors, they don't seem to get hurt. But the indigenous people got hurt. You have to put your foot down. You have a right to control your destiny. And all the riches that that country has, that country is wealthier than the rest of Europe. But they said it's one of the most poverty stricken places on the planet. That really saddens me. See, the African has to learn its history, know who they're dealing with. But they may think, well, I'm not them. But it doesn't matter what you think, it's how you're perceived. And when people perceive you being something small, then that's what you are to them. I'm also concerned about, because I see when see places like the Congo or Zaire, I see the U.S. You can have someone who um, had some education. Maybe they were an ethnic minority in their place. And so there is some static with the other people who might be in power. But you never see someone losing their life from a European. So everybody's sick and worried, and you're getting it from someone else from your own group. How do you protect yourself? You don't want to look like a laughing stock. You really want to show yourself being assertive and powerful. But there seems to be a corruption going on. Yeah, hi, Cam. Yeah, so it seems like a corruption going on in the world. This corruption that if you don't resolve it, it's going to consume you. So what's happening? What happened in the Congo and Zaire is something that is happening here in the U.S. All these riots, what they call race riots, but who's getting hurt in the process? Yes, it's a big corporation. Yeah, you have people who have a global control over the whole planet. They don't really love anybody. And this, as the Cam call it, this corporation, they control the U.S. also. And even if a Caucasian were to say no, they'll be removed also. It's like, do the status quo. Yes, do the status quo. Follow the rules. Yes, they'll let Caucasians head companies often, and then they get the followers. And you just do what you're told. Gather the land, like they're using these European Americans to acquire more land. And then make them think that they own it, and then boom, they lose everything. They're losing a lot. There's a shift that's going on. They don't want to use the. I mean, you have the top 2%, but outside of that, they don't care about anybody. It's the status quo. Oh, thank you, Ken. Yeah, they want you to be controlled by a system, but they make you pit against each other. You have, let's say, different um, peoples, let's say from the Caribbean. They'll start to fight each other for the jobs. Or you have the uh, conflicts between the general white population and the general black population. You have the cops abusing some of the citizens. I mean, a cop could mess up anybody, any race. But it is what you see. And at one point, I started to think that the bad them and you being the victim. I think we're all victims. See, we're all in this game of monopoly. It is a monopoly happening in this planet. And you have maybe the top 2% that control everything, even the slave trade in North America. They said that only 2% of the white folk had slaves, but they owned most of the bulk of the slaves that were in this country. Okay, I'm back on. So I have to be careful when I say. You notice when I said a certain thing, it went buffering for the first time? Okay, so I have to be careful. So it is what it is. And so it's not, so it's a system that is in place that really controls everybody. It controls all races, but they primarily used a certain race to kind of like head everything. But if they fight the system themselves, they get removed too. They colonize the different locations. And the commerce, like for example with Congo slash Zaire, so even the country made Belgium rich. But why aren't the African able to perform the same commerce to make them rich, to make them strong? They, as I said, they're mineral rich, and they would spend hours and days collecting this. I think it was uranium, and they use it. It's like a remind me of the gold rush in the 19. I mean the 18 was the 1860s or 80s, 1880s with the gold rush. Well, they have a rush also, and they do all the hard work, and they get what was that? They said $50 a month, and they have to divide that money amongst themselves. So it's making people really desperate. But when you look at the land, it's brainwashing. They're being brainwashed just like here. Massive land they have. It's not heavily populated actually, and the agriculture. I mean I mean such rich the plants. They can when I saw the pictures of it, I was saying, boy, if I had an opportunity to talk to the leaders there, oh, where I would tell them they could um, go into exotic plants to get the medicinal find the medicinal purposes of these plants and use it and sell it on the world market. I mean, rather than trying to act like a European, you got natural stuff there. Be natural. You got all those plants and you're in the equator, utilize that plant life and sell it. Um, what else? Um, they could plant different types of farm, what they call permaculture. A couple of years ago, in 2014, I heard the term permaculture. This is like a science behind planting a garden, a food garden. It's a system, and it's a system that's designed to perpetuate, to utilize what seeds you plant next to each other will bring out its best, and you use, of course, an organic method. Oh, that place has it, man. They should find out about this permaculture. They could even do training in that country of permaculture, how to make it work, how to feed yourself. You can't feed yourself off of gold or um, all these heavy metals. See, it's a system. even though the colony left, but their commerce is based on the European need, and that's why they're suffering. Even though they're in the land of plenty, it's unreal. I said, wow, someone did some magic over these people. I said, how they don't see it? And again, you have people who are sympathetic to the Belgians. You have African people there of the Congo slash Zaire who are still lovers of their former oppressors. Well, they should study. You see that, people? Okay, looks like it's back on. Okay. Yes, so you saw what happened. It started buffering. Again, so I have to be again very careful. So the people could take the resources, learn how. See, I can't stand when it buffers like that because you lose your train of thought. But I guess you have to. I mean, they're utilizing a system that's not designed for their economy, and I think also this colonial system. See, I'm starting to really think about what David Icke talks about those particular people who aren't really organic in nature. These inorganic beings control the system, and I think possibly, see, a nation can't use all those resources that it's obtaining from these other countries. It has to have a surplus, and I think it's that surplus that's being sent to where the real leaders are, the real government. That's where it's going. So somehow the people can see through this and take control of their land and to have a system that's designed with them in mind. The indigenous people are not about um, illogical things. I think we are we're practical. We have and it's not to simplify us, but I think our nature that you have your family, you have your shelter, and you have food, and you have something for your artistic expression in life. And I think that's really what characterizes the indigenous man and woman. But to go around uh, acquiring, let's say, cars, like you have some people, they collect all these cars, or sometimes art pieces and things that really, that depreciate, but it can't really offer you something. And it's the lust for more. It's an illusion. It's all an illusion. And you think you need these things. Just look at the creatures on this planet. We're really no different than them. You don't see them have a bank system. You don't see all that. You don't see them trading goods with each other. See, this system was introduced to us. We were, I think, no different than the dog or cat or cow. And I'm not trying to be pejorative. There's nothing wrong with these little animals and the way they lived. But something happened long ago, and it taught us. It was like a monopoly game was imposed upon us. This monopoly money that was introduced, that became your God, that you'll do anything to get it, fighting, killing. And they are doing all those things for a piece of paper. Paper. And then now they're going to change the system now. They're introducing a moneyless system. So who's controlling that? The top 2%. So even if you collect all the money, that money will probably very shortly have no value because there's no value in the dollar bill. It's just paper. And the system puts value on it, but in itself really has no power. It's like agreed upon. You all agreeing that this money is worth a certain amount and that you could trade it for something else of similar value. But God forbid if you try to make your own money, you be you'll be considered a criminal, and it would be called counterfeiting. They'll throw you in prison for that. So why is it that they're able to make money but not you? So you have a system in control, and then they decide that this money is worth X amount of money, and somehow you have to obtain this currency, and you have to have some stored somewhere for you for a rainy day. And this thing is what consumes all of us. And forget about the Hollywood system that's really exploiting labor. You notice how much money that they make in Hollywood for memorizing a script, go in front of a camera, and then pretend you're that character. So it's creating your reality. It tells you, it sets up a school system. The school system was introduced, what was that, about 100 years ago? This whole school system in the United States, it's relatively new. The medical field also was created, and it's created by the top people. Who are these people? And we agreed upon it. They created a system that, you only have citizenship, you can only vote only if you are a landowner. So if you didn't own land in this country, you couldn't vote. And if you were black or Indian, you couldn't vote either. If you're a woman, you couldn't vote either. So there was a system created in the world, this monopoly game that was put over all of us, white people, black people, red people, yellow people, all people, men and women and children, and placed over us. And then we all kind of agreed, it's okay. And they can always change the rules also. It's an ugly system. And you look in this African country of Zaire, Congo, they started fighting. They showed actual pictures. Yeah, this ruler in Zaire, Congo, he was popular. And he was very flamboyant, very arrogant, and he would have these parties, these lavish parties, and they were stealing a lot of money, and they could have they didn't use it for the people to build up the land. You think, okay, you got to build up the land. That land was built for the colonial. Now build it for yourself. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. These people in the Congo need to study. Oh, that's when it got cut off. Kids have to be really careful now. See, there's a country in the Middle East that these people in the Congo need to study. Because this country in the Middle East, an Arab country, They're desert people. They're nomadic. And one day they found oil. This was maybe a little over 100 years ago. They had found oil, and I don't think it's a coincidence. But for whatever reason, the so-called Western powers give some respect. They respect these particular Arabs, almost like an equal. They had reverence for these people, but they never had reverence for the African. But for the Arab, yes, they did. They had reverence the white people, and they did trade. They started a trade because then they used the oil for now the vehicles and other things that oil is used for. And now, see, the oil is running out, they said. These Arab nations know it. It's going to last just for a few more years. And so, look what they're doing now in the Arabian Peninsula. They are building these humongous cities, these skyscrapers that are the tallest in the world. Yeah, these people in Arabia, the peninsula, they like everything big. And they also send their children to Western schools. Yep, and they learn Western ways too. Yep, they go to Europe and they go to the US for higher education. And so they're learning as much as they can of the European and the white Americans to learn their system and how they do this commerce and to build lavish cities. Yeah, you know, in that part of the world, I think it was Kuwait. Each person in that country gets $60,000 to stay at home. 60, you heard me right. 60000 every year. They get that from the government. Every year, every Kuwaiti citizen gets that much money. That means they're rolling in dough. Interesting, most of the people in that country are actually foreigners. You want me to turn on? My little dog is breathing hard. You want me to turn on the air conditioning? Poor baby. Yeah. So that's what's happening. So they're smart people. So they have all these foreigners in that country, in Kuwait and other nations around there. And they're just used for labor. And they're really particular and they have a strong hand on the foreigners there. They have them put in, some people call it compounds. It's like a place where all the foreign workers are to reside in this gated town or ghetto, whatever we want to call it. And they're able to dress what they want to dress there. And then when they go to work, you know, they do their assignment and they go back home into that compound. Yep. So they're not really like they don't want the foreigners to influence the indigenous people there. They don't want them to be affected by them. So that's also why I think they want them segregated. So to protect, because you don't want them to influence the masses there, because they don't want to change the culture that exists there. They're utilizing Western help though. They are being paid well, but I feel that it's going to be used for the detrimental. Like you're digging your own grave. When a Western country goes there and helps their infrastructure, I feel what's going to happen. They're going to be, uh, it's like making weapons for someone and they're going to use it against you. I think that's what's going to happen. But either way, either I'm going off the topic. But see, the the Congo slash Zaire should learn from the people of the Arabian Peninsula to see how it works. See, part of it is just straight out racism. Let's just call it what it is. These are people who, um, where human trafficking had, had been, and then under colonialism, under the king of the Belgium, you had that, and so it's a reinforcement of a race system against the black people there. So I think because of that, they're not going to be viewed as an equal ever. But either way, still learn from nations who um, are doing well, who have a resource and learn how to exploit their resource. I don't want to say the word exploit. Like in the Middle East, they're building islands in the ocean. When I first saw that, I said, how could something like that happen? Actually built land on water. They need a special sand, and I forget where they get the sand from. It's not the regular sand that you see. It's it's gotten in a different location. See, the typical sand in Saudi Arabia is too loose, but they get this sand, it's underwater, and they have these giant machines that dig out the sand, and then they use this thing to eject the sand out, and they actually create islands, and they're selling. Oops, my power's running out. Thank God I have my battery near me. I mean, my charger. Yeah, they have these machines, giant machines. I assume it's made in Europe. So I'm trying to put something in here. It's made in Europe, and oh, good, it's plugged in now. Yeah, and they actually create these islands. They have a series of islands that looks like the world map. I kid you not. And they're selling it to Westerners, and they decide which little island they want to buy. They're making money. See, this is a smart, the people from the Arabian Peninsula, they are really business savvy. And these people have only been around, these Europeans, just for maybe no more than 100 years. It was post slavery. And these people, they learned how to do this business and to use the oil for their advantage. Everything is for their advantage and building themselves and the kingdom. It's amazing. It's quite amazing. And so I said, okay, so what's the difference now? So shouldn't uh, the Congo slash Zaire take their resources if these Europeans want to use it, or if these uh, Westerners want to use, have their resources? Well, use it for your advantage. They have to. I mean, instead, they're just killing themselves. Once it got into, after the end of colonialism, there was a infighting amongst them, and it's sad. So all this thing. So you're seeing that some nations are able to um, do this creative business and enterprise and have and develop and infrastructure of their nation and the uh, citizens of that nation benefit. The Congo and nations like it have to do the same thing. Either that or you perish. And so some of them may be forced with, or what could happen, like what's happening in the Caribbean. What's happening, see, it's all related. Um, I used to live in the Caribbean, and what could happen, what is happening there in the Caribbean? So here you have the Caribbean that was under slavery for many hundred years, and now it too got its independence from the colonial powers, and around the same time, 1950s and the 1960s. You know that their islands are being sold to Westerners. And so you have the local black population there. And what they're doing, they get a visit from a resort. These people want to build a resort, and they offer them money. They say, "Sure, I take it." See the current local population in the Caribbean. They're short-sighted. They think poor. They think, "Oh wow, you give me a few $1,000s for this? Hey, yeah, I party with this money." And then the developers go there and you become a slave to them. You become a slave to that corporation that comes down there. It could be a fancy hotel, it could be anything, a humongous one. And you already sold your land to them. So the land, the island becomes the ownership of a company. And then they hire people from somewhere else that don't look like you. And it's again colorism slash racism that occurs again, that holds you in bondage. And then the hate that starts, the hate and jealousy that develops as a result. Because now you become a slave to this corporation. When they hire people from somewhere else for the high positions, and then the servitude positions slash slave like positions, they have you do it. But see, you didn't value your land. Your land is your value, what you do for that land. But you sold away something that you shouldn't have. Your blood, sweat, and tears went into that land. And now you want to give up that heritage of you being linked to that land and give it to a corporation. And you thought it was a smart move. And you lose all power and respect. Yeah, the whites that go there, and even some of the other people that go there, they don't respect the people of color there. They're not respected because they don't value themselves. And again, they're brainwashed still because of the legacy of slavery. They're afraid of white people, and the whites feel it. They feel it, and they exploit it. And you just do, and the black people do anything there for a penny. And the black the black people there, and even the white West Indies, yeah, white people, white West Indian people also there, who've been there for generations and generations. They're selling their children for sex. Yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are. I was told by someone that her own brother um, paid for, I mean, had people pay him so that they can see the girl's naked body. I kid you not, she told me that out of the blue. They're doing that. They're so desperate for money. I even met like people from Jamaica, Jamaican men. they're doing the men are becoming prostitutes, not prostitutes for women, but for men, Western men, white men. They wear these real tight pants that show their, anatomy. I kid you not. I saw um, there was this one near where I live with an American black girl, and they were like talking till we got in a conversation. She had liked my dogs. I was walking by, walking them, and she took notice, and she's holding this guy here, arm, and it was just really bizarre conversation. But yeah, you have that in Jamaica. And again, I'm not trying to put down any nation, any island. I'm not trying to make fun of people. I'm just trying to talk for awareness of what's going on and how you're being perceived, black people, or if you don't want to be called a black person, a brown person then, or a person of color, or Moor, or Indian, whatever what you want to call yourself. See, it's how you're being perceived by white people and Arabs and Asians, how they perceive you. You can call yourself anything. It's perception and how these other groups that are being used against you view you. And so they're studying you. Yes, they are studying you to see what you're all about and how they can control you. And what they're really good at doing is before the blacks get really really angry with the Westerner, they put in another group in there for you to be distracted by. So like a place like Jamaica, they imported many people from India and China to do some of the labor. But you know what the British done on Jamaica? They said, okay, you work the land, you Asian people, and then after the contract is up, they'll give them land. Did they give those former slaves land? No, they didn't. So there's a rift between the blacks who were brought there as enslaved beings versus those who are new arrivals to do contract work and then be offered land. Land means power. Land is power. And if you know how to make it work for you, fantastic. So that's what's happening in the Caribbean. The land is being sold to corporations, and then now the corporations are your new masters. And then you get angry at the white people that are there, but you gave up the land, you gave it up. And then you have the governors there, yeah, the governors there, and they probably are offered money. I speculate, I can only speculate. They give him money so that they'll have them like a puppet. Yep. And look at what Brazil. Brazil also, you have a massive black population and mixed race population. But who controls down there? You have, again, a lot of land, but the indigenous and the African and the mixed race, they don't control it. They have a white president. Yeah, they don't have, and also Mexico too. Yeah, you see all these people leaving Mexico, and then you see the poverty of Brazil, and both countries are ruled by white people. If you look at the country of Mexico, and you look at the president there, look what he looked like. He don't look like those people that you see working in those restaurants. Yeah. And Brazil, look what he looked like. These are European men, people of European ancestry who control massive land, controlling the indigenous and the blacks that live there. And they're in poverty. So what's happening now? Okay, so you have the backbiting. So like in Congo, there's backbiting, and here's someone that they put in power. They it was a coup. So the same thing that what happened in the Congo and Zaire, it's what is happening and what's gonna happen in the United States. You have a black population, and you have this growing turf within like the music industry, and you see them killing each other for dominance, for influence. But just imagine if they use that music to inspire people to do greatness, or to utilize the money that they're making to improve the lives of the other people that they live amongst. They live alone. They live in these faraway places. They have mansions. Yeah, that's all I want to talk about. I was really surprised. There's a relatively new performer. They started maybe 5 years ago. I learned of them almost 3 years ago, and they showed her property. She was able to buy her mother a home, and then she just got a house. I don't know I don't remember what state it's in, but the place was opulent, and how they can make it look that good. It was amazing. The style of the home and how it was furnished, it was out of this world. Of all the houses of the celebrities, she has the best house, best look. It was I my mouth dropped. But they're being compromised. These singers, and now they seem to be using these. I mean, I'm just gonna say, I'm just seeing a trend. I'm not trying to cause weight. I'm just trying to be real and just to have you open your eyes so that you start seeing what's going on. It's a seduction. It's a new seduction going on. It's a colorism. See, they don't want to be so overt about racism, so they're using colorism to control black people. Don't you notice now with the hip hop slash rappers, they're getting women from other countries that look a little different than the uh, color wise, differently than the people that live here in the U.S. Just like they had Nicki Minaj and something Bacardi, something you know the name I'm trying to remember. Look at them and look how they're being used. Look how they having the young women, young girls act, and all the other new singers. It's all about they're seducing you with colorism. They're getting the women in particular to be a certain color. And so all the other darker skinned black women looking and wishing that they were them. This is a seduction. It is a seduction being used against you. So look what happens. They start using they go out the way to get a some type of job, getting money so that they can get a butt job and a boob job. I kid you not. Butt sags and so do breasts as you get older. Okay. It's not going to sustain you. But they're fighting over that. They're fighting to who got the longest nails. Look at that. They got like dragon nails. Dragon nails. Weaves. But they're not educating themselves. I'm sure they're smart in their own way. But to really to use that money, you know, when they get money, educate yourself to start a business. Not that we're making everybody richer for our misery. We want to get the butt job because the guys will notice you more, right? And a lot of girls, they use their bodies to get favors, just like some of those performers. Yeah, they get look the way they do so they can get, they sleep their way in a position, to get certain jobs. They do that. What are they teaching the young girls? Don't you think that there's diseases out there? There's diseases out there. AIDS didn't stop. AIDS is still out there, and black people. And again, some of you don't want to use the term black, so okay, brown or melanated. Either way, it's not the label. It's your genetics, and our genetics acts differently than the general population, white population. And so this thing called AIDS, this thing called coronavirus is killing us at a higher rate, even though it didn't originate in our neighborhoods or communities. But you got it. And so they want you to be sexual and risking the diseases that are out there. And plus, you're making these doctors. Who are the doctors? Look at the surnames of these doctors. It's not no Smith or Jones, okay? You start looking at the names and who's benefiting off of your fears and insecurities. And they can leave, they have their multiple homes, or maybe even dual citizenship somewhere. So if it gets kind of rocky here in the United States of America, they can go to their other country that they have dual citizenship and be away from you. Yeah, New York City, where I live, is turning into a chocolate and caramel system. Who's going to do all the work? Well, I tell you who's going to who's going to control. See, we have now in New York City, and again, all what I'm saying is not to be promote hatred or racism. Is to show you what is going on. That's all. Just for your awareness. We have what they're going to call a like an honorary white system. They're going to be your new bosses. They're going to be the ones living in the fancy places that they have in New York City. Yeah, New York City is booming. I went out today to a different location where they're doing a lot of construction, and these are really fancy buildings. And the people that's going to be living in them that I see, because I went around in the area, are people from Asia. These are the new owners, well, I should say residences of these places that are going to populate. And they're getting their degrees, and they're majoring in all the sciences and engineering, but not you black people or Hispanics. Yeah, or West Indians. It's you're going to be behind the eight ball. And then, but you're finding out who's going to have the bigger boobs and the biggest bigger buttocks. And then the men in these communities, they're wearing their tight pants to show their genitalia shape for prostitution. I kid you not. Because see, also they're turning the men into um, someone who wants, or what you call, the alternative sexual lifestyle. So now you don't have the men anymore to protect the women. They're out there doing their thing sexually with their new preference. So no leaders, no more people reproducing, and then you have the women out there who are seducing the other women to look like them, to act like them, and to disregard their bodies. So you're just a commodity. You're just a commodity. It's pathetic. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, just study the Congo. Just look at what they're doing, what they did. I don't know what they're doing now, but just look at them. You're no different. You get into a business like the music industry, and then you start killing off each other, just like what the people of Zaire, Congo, did to one another, and nothing happened to their former colonial powers. And in fact, he tried to he was emulating by dress and everything else his former oppressors, right? Yeah, the white people here really don't have to worry because you want to be just like them. It's just a wake up call, people, because the land is here is going to be taken away from you. The schools, they're not teaching you how to educate yourself. Uh, we're we're pulled from a system, a natural system, to an artificial one called monopoly. We don't know how to play the game, and they can change the rules at any time of the game. Even with YouTube, they change the rules over and over again. And so when you think you're learning the system, how to get over, I don't want to say get over, that you learned a new way that you could improve, they change the algorithm on you. So it's a wake up call. This is a beautiful country, and I want the best for us. And we have to start seeing through and see history for what it is. This new election is coming up. Was it her name? Harris? I forget her first name. Kamala Harris. Yeah, they're trying to do another Obama on you. There are things that are hidden about her. There are things that are very nice, that look very nice about her, but there's things that are hidden, and they want you to just see her brownish color skin. But be careful. You vote for who you want to vote for, but just make sure you vote for the what would be beneficial for you. Um, but I see disaster, and you want somebody that's going to represent you. You want someone that's going to care about you, care about your education, care about your living circumstances. Are you being fed? Do you have schooling? Do you have clean water? Is it safe where you live? If those people cannot uh, correct that those situations that are lacking in your community, then they're not the best candidate for you. Yeah, you don't want to be like what happened to the Congo. Such a beautiful look at beautiful fauna. And this country also is a beautiful country, but its citizens are hurting, and in particular the black population. But many populations are suffering. So this is just a wake up call to those who want to listen, to who want to learn, who want to start thinking what's going on. Please wake up all, and I'm trying to wake up also. I don't know everything, but I perceive certain things. And that's also why I'm watching all these videos, because I'm trying to educate myself what's going on. I think what I also should do, I should learn more about history, and history, what happened to other. We need to know what is happening in other countries in the Americas and in Africa in particular. See, we're disconnected to our roots and from each other. People are using labels to segregate us. They might say, oh, well, you're Hispanic or you're a Latin person. When actuality, we have all different languages here in the Americas because of colonialism. But who are we behind those colonial names? We're from Africa. We are also some of us indigenous Indians. That's who we are. And because of those things, we have many similarities, but they want us disconnected from each other. They say, oh, that's not my business because I'm not from Latin America, or I'm from this location. I'm not from the Caribbean, or I'm from the mainland. We're disconnected, yet the same thing that happened to us here happened to you there. And we don't want to see each other as being family. We are family. And if we think in terms of family, then we'll be able to stop our oppressors. That is the secret. We need to come together. We need to come together. So I thank you for listening. And yes, so those people who are listening, you can write your comments below. Definitely share this video with people who you think will appreciate this information. Those people who want to think, those people who want to become aware of what's going on. Yes, and you can give me the thumbs up. And some of you haven't been getting my notifications. So what you can do, because it's YouTube, and YouTube, I guess, senses algorithms, and they could unsubscribe people. So just resubscribe and make sure you press the bell so you can get all new notifications that when I upload a video, you'll be able to get it right away. And last but not least, those of you who like my content, you may wish to donate to my PayPal me account. To do so, you just go to my channel, Spirit Journey, and on the banner on the right hand side, you see my PayPal me link. Just click on it and follow the prompts. Any amount would be greatly appreciated. I thank you all in advance. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I haven't done it a live stream in a long time, especially like this in my room. Yeah. Um, I hope you enjoyed it. And I felt it was something important to share with you to awaken. And including myself. Yes. Each one teach one, and yes, teach me also what you know. So enjoy your evening and be safe. Bye bye.